Here we go again, the Amazfit Bip 6. This thing features a massive bright AMOLED display, over 140 activity profiles, offline maps and navigation, a responsive modern interface, an app store, lots of training and wellness features, and a speaker and microphone for interacting with their AI assistant or taking and making phone calls. Oh yeah, and the price? $79. This is the 6th generation of the Bip series, and the Bip series from Amazfit has always offered a great value, but with that value came a lot of compromises. For example, if we look back in time to the original Amazfit Bip, that device had a dull MIP display and didn't collect a ton of data, didn't have a lot of features at a very low price. Now, if we fast forward back to today in the Bip 6, with this watch, there's very little compromises. In fact, the Amazfit Bip 6 feels like it's cannibalizing a lot of other Amazfit products that cost more, and you'll find that out as we go through this video. Before we get deep into this, I do want to mention that I've only been wearing this watch for a couple of days, literally just like 2 days of use. So by no means is this an overly in-depth review. With that said, in that short amount of time, I've learned a lot about this watch, and I really wanted to share that with you today. So this is more of an initial review, first impressions kind of thing, but I have gotten some use with it. I've taken it on a couple of different runs, and we'll be looking through all that data throughout this video. But before we get into all of that data, let's take a closer look at the hardware on the Amazfit Bip 6. As you can see, this is a rectangular watch, and this watch bears a striking resemblance to something like an Apple Watch, as you can see here. Taking a closer look here, you can see that the Amazfit Bip 6 actually does have sort of an aluminum bezel case piece that wraps around it here, and then the back of the case is completely made out of plastic. Busting out the calipers here, we can see that the Amazfit Bip 6 comes in at 46 millimeters tall, it's about 40.5 millimeters wide, and it's about 10.5 millimeters thick without the heart rate sensor, and with the heart rate sensor, it's about 11.9 millimeters thick. On top of that, this watch comes in at a very light 28 grams, and I gotta say, wearing this thing, sleeping throughout the day is very comfortable, and honestly, it feels very much like an Apple Watch. It sort of gets out of the way, and I don't mind sleeping with it at all. The Amazfit Bip 6 is also waterproof to 5 atmospheres or 50 meters, so it's fine for taking in the shower or going for a swim with, but just no scuba diving or anything like that. Flipping the watch over, we can see there is a built-in optical heart rate sensor on the back of the watch. Of course, this is the latest generation from Amazfit called their biosensor PPG, I believe they call it. Now, taking a closer look, just adjacent to that heart rate sensor, you do see a couple of metal contacts, and that is for this little charging puck. This little charger has a USB Type-C port on the side here. Unfortunately, no cable is included in the box, but I'm sure you got some laying around. And to charge it, you simply just stick this on the back. It's pretty secure, it doesn't fall off by itself. Internally, this watch also features a ton of sensors. You've got a built-in accelerometer, a gyroscope, an ambient light sensor for screen brightness, and a magnetic compass internally. Unfortunately though, there is no built-in barometric altimeter in this watch, so you won't pick up real-time elevation as you're hiking or trail running. You will get that data after the fact once the watch syncs the activity to your phone. The Amazfit Bip 6 comes with an included silicone band in the box. This is a pass-through style band, which means once you secure it to your wrist, you simply slide it through itself, similar to what you see on Apple Watches, and it sort of holds the rest of the band behind it. I do find this band to be super comfortable. In fact, it's really stretchy and really nice, and it does have all these holes perforated through it. This band is an industry standard quick release, so you can simply pop it off with your fingernail there and pop on any from Amazon or wherever else that you want to replace it with. Now for a quick size comparison with some other watches I grabbed. All the way on the left, we've got the 47 millimeter version of the Garmin Fenix 8, very expensive watch. Again, another expensive watch next to it, the Apple Watch Ultra 2, and then we've got the Amazfit Bip 6. We've got Amazfit's T-Rex 3 here, which is their ruggedized version of a watch, and then all the way on the right is the Apple Watch Series 10. Okay, jumping back to the front of the watch here, let's take a look at this display because it's quite nice. This is a 1.97-inch AMOLED touch-enabled display. And what's interesting about that is it actually has a larger display compared to the Apple Watch Ultra 2 here, this being a $800 watch, this being a $79 watch. That 1.97-inch AMOLED display is also covered by tempered glass that has a anti-fingerprint coating to it. Unfortunately, no sapphire or anything here. The glass is very reflective though. I will say that's one drawback to that tempered glass, that when you're out in a sunny condition or you have lights around it, like as you can see here, once that reflection hits it, it does dull the display a little bit. Though this display gets up to 2000 nits of brightness, which is very bright, and it can cut through that dullness even on a bright sunny day. I really haven't had any issues with visibility with this watch. And of course, like most modern day AMOLED displays, this one does have an always on option, which is enabled now. When it's active, it's nice and bright like that, and as you can see there, it just sort of went to sleep, and that's what you'll see throughout the day when you glance down and you're not waking it up by turning your wrist. Quick interruption, if you're finding this video fun or helpful or useful in any way, I would really appreciate it if you would take the time and go down and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel down below so you don't miss more videos from me in the future. And of course, check out the links in the description down below where you can pick up your very own Amazfit Bip 6, and that link does help support this channel, so you might as well use it. Okay, back to the video. Now let's get into the user interface on the Amazfit Bip 6. As you can see here, we are at the main screen or watch face. Of course, just like all Amazfit products, this is fully customizable. Simply hold on the watch face for a couple of seconds and you can swipe through a bunch of pre-designed ones that are already installed. If you swipe up from the bottom, you will get all of your notifications. And what's interesting about Zepp OS 4.5, which is running on this watch, is that you get little icons for all of your notifications for each app. So as you can see here, I've got a new video from Matt Legrand. Go check him out on YouTube. And as you can see, it's got a little YouTube icon there. And what's interesting about this is that almost all of my apps get a little icon, whether that be Gmail or Facebook, but even things that would be competing with Amazfit, for example, my Ultrahuman Ring Air here, the Ultrahuman app even got its own icon within the notifications, which I thought was kind of cool. In terms of the user interface, another thing you'll notice about this watch is just how snappy it is. Just swiping around user interface screens, there's no delay at all. If I swipe to the right here, you can see I can cycle through all of my widgets without any delay. Now, flipping the watch to the right here, you will notice that there's two buttons on the side. These two buttons are mapped to do two different things. If you push the bottom button here, you'll drop directly into your activity menu. So here you can go on your outdoor run, your walking, and a whole bunch more, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, if you click on that top button here, this will drop you into the app menu where you can find a whole bunch of things in terms of your wellness and other apps that are included with this watch. If I scroll down, you can see all the basics like your workout and heart rate and stuff. Here you get a nice weather widget that'll give me my current temperature outside. You've also got Zepp Coach in here, which is their AI assistant for coaching running, which is actually pretty cool. You've got your workout history, workout status. You've got your map app here. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Activities, you got your stress tracking. I can dive into that and see my stress for the day. Scrolling back, we've got my sleep app here. I can dive into that and see my previous night of sleep, my sleep score at the top there, my graph of my sleep with interruptions I've had. Scrolling down further, we've got the phone app. Now within here, I can see recent contacts, my top contacts, or I can just dial a phone number manually if I want to do that. And like I said before, there is a speaker and microphone on this watch. So if you get an incoming call, you can actually click a button on the side, answer the call, and talk into the watch itself. Scrolling down further, we do have the music app here, and this is kind of interesting. So the music app will play two different kinds of music. You've got internal storage on the watch itself if you want to sync music from the Zepp app on your phone in terms of MP3 songs to the watch. However, keep in mind that the internal storage of this watch is very limited. From what I can see within the settings of the watch, there's only about 200 megabytes of storage. And that internal storage is also shared between apps. So if you have Maps downloaded, we'll talk about that later, that takes up storage too. So you really have to pick and choose what you want to store on the watch. However, even though there is limited internal storage for music on this watch, you can actually control Bluetooth audio from the watch as well. So if you are paired to your phone, you can skip tracks, you can turn up the volume up and down, and do all of that directly from the watch, again, without digging out your phone from your backpack. Now let's talk about some of the health features on the Amazfit Bip 6. If I scroll to the right from the home screen here, you can see the first thing I'm presented with is the readiness score. Now the readiness score is pretty interesting. If I click on Insights, you can see a lot more information about my readiness score. The readiness score is based on a 0 to 100 scale, and based on that number at the top should indicate how ready you are to take on the day ahead. If you scroll down, you get a little blurb about your information from the previous night of sleep and some of your readiness information. It says here, take it easy, it looks like your body needs a break from all the hard work it's been doing lately, evidenced by your low heart rate variability over the past couple of days. So last night, I actually went for a run late in the day, and I think that affected my HRV throughout the night, which is what I'm seeing here in the readiness score. What's interesting about this, and a complaint I've had with other Amazfit products, is that despite having a low HRV, it still gives me a rather high readiness score, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I've had issues with the readiness score in other devices from Amazfit where I'm always in that like 80 to 90 range, even if I'm overtrained or I'm tired or even sick, it just doesn't move a lot. I'd love to see this algorithm updated a little bit more. But if I scroll down, you can see all of the factors that play a role in the readiness score. That's my physical recovery, my mental recovery, my sleep, resting heart rate, and my HRV, which again is low, so it's telling me to pay attention. And if I click in on any of these factors, like physical recovery, for example, it'll give me even more information about that metric, and it will tell me what it actually means in just plain words here. Now, if I swipe over from the readiness score, I get my general activity for the day. That includes my step count, which is pretty low because it's still pretty early. I've got my stand time and my active time for the day. Swiping over again, I get my little weather widget here, which is kind of cool. It shows that it's raining outside with some graphics in the background. Swiping over again, I have the heart rate widget, which is picking up 95 beats per minute from my finger, apparently. Now, of course, just like every other smartwatch out there, once you get all of that health and wellness data on your watch, that is synced over to the app on your phone. And in this case, they use an app called Zepp Health. The Zepp Health app has gotten a lot better throughout the years. A couple of years ago is not that great, but they've really polished it up to be very usable now. Right at the top here, you get all of the data that I just showed you on the watch. You've got your sleep, your readiness, and exertion score. I haven't been using the watch long enough to get that exertion score. That'll come later. Scrolling down, you do get a little AI-driven insight blurb there that tells you about your day and what's going on with you. You can see here, I get the same blurb we just saw on the watch about my low HRV. Scrolling down again, we've got my food for the day. And this is actually pretty interesting in a feature that Amazfit quietly added not long ago. They have this food journaling app where you can actually take a picture of food on a plate and it will try to use AI to identify that food and add it to your calories for the day. It's actually pretty cool, and maybe I'll have a whole separate video on that. Scrolling down further, we've got all of my core metrics for the day here, and to the right of those core metrics is a little green indicator to tell me if they're good, or a little orange indicator to tell me if I should pay attention. And again, I had a very low HRV last night. In fact, very, very low, hopefully I'm not getting sick, of 25. Usually I'm up in the 50 to 60 range. 25 is very low for me. Scrolling down in the workout tab, you also get more advanced metrics for training. You've got your estimated VO2 max here, which is a bit low. I've got a whole video on that. Go check that out. But then there's also my training load and my recovery time based on my last activity. This is actually pretty interesting. For an $80 watch to have training load and recovery time is kind of unheard of. Jumping over to the next tab here, we have Zepp Aura, which is their AI-driven sleep assistant thing. And this will have a bunch of data about your sleep and the ways you can improve your sleep. And they actually do have like breathing exercise and some music that you can play that's supposed to be good for sleep. Haven't really tried that. And finally, we've got the device tab here, and this will show all of your paired devices. I've got a bunch paired to this app, along with the device itself, your battery health, and a bunch of watch faces you can download, along with the App Store. And this App Store has grown quite a bit recently. You've got apps for GoPro and camera controls on your phone. You've got little games you can play. Some of these are paid, like this Pixel Bird game is $2.99. But a lot of them are just free. Okay, next up, let's talk about the speaker and microphone on board the Amazfit Bip 6. Like I said, you can take and make phone calls directly from this watch, but you can also do a couple of other things. For example, right now I'm recording a voice memo directly into the Amazfit Bip 6 and playing it back through a super high quality microphone so you can hear what it actually sounds like in terms of audio quality from the speaker and microphone itself. The cool thing about these voice memos is that once they're saved to the internal storage of the watch, they're automatically synced over to your phone where you can download them or share them with other people if you want to do that. The process is really simple. One thing I will say about the speaker quality on the Amazfit Bip 6 is that it's not very loud. You really have to hold it up to your ear to hear what's going on. And in a noisy environment, taking a phone call on this might be a bit of a challenge. But if you're out in a quiet area, it should be pretty easy to use. However, there is another trick up the sleeve of the Amazfit Bip 6 when it comes to the microphone built in, because there is an app called Zepp Flow, and this is their AI-driven voice assistant. Now, if I tap in on this, I can do a variety of things. Increase the brightness on my watch, please.
I increased the screen brightness.
What time is the sunset today? What is my current VO2 max?
Your latest VO2 max is 50 milliliters per minute per kilogram.
How can I improve my VO2 max?
To improve your VO2 max, engage in regular aerobic exercises like running, cycling, or swimming.
Who directed the movie Titanic?
James Cameron directed the movie Titanic.
Are you smarter than ChatGPT?
I'm designed for smartwatch assistance, while ChatGPT handles broader queries.
So as you can see, Zepp Flow in the AI virtual assistant is quite powerful. It can change settings, you can ask it questions, you can actually ask it workout suggestions, all kinds of things. And I believe it's actually driven by ChatGPT behind the scenes to do all this, and I'm still kind of scratching the surface of what it can do. Moving right along, let's talk about activity profiles and customizations. So as you can see here, I'm in the workout menu on the Bip 6, and you've got all of the basics here, like outdoor running, walking, free training, but you also have high rocks, which is actually an up-and-coming sport here in the United States. That's sort of like a mix of CrossFit and racing. It's high intensity, it's kind of interesting, but Amazfit is actually one of their premier sponsors. So they've added the dedicated high rocks activity to their watches, which is kind of cool. But on top of all of these basic workouts, you can also dive into more workouts. And within here, there's over 140 different activities that you can do. And they get pretty niche. For example, if we dive into dance here, we've got ballet, belly dancing, square dancing, street dancing, ballroom dancing, Zumba, Latin, jazz, folk. There's stuff for combat sports like jiu-jitsu. There's chess and checkers. I don't know why you'd want to track that, but the moral of the story is there's a hilarious amount of activity profiles to choose from on this watch. One thing to keep in mind about the activity profiles within the Bip 6 is that they're all sort of a copy and paste from one another. None of them offer like a whole lot of different metrics. It's really just a way to categorize your activities. Now within each activity, I can dive further into this. You've got the go button once it locates my position. But if I scroll down, there's also training tools for intervals. There's an assistant here. There's navigation, and you can click on this button here. You can customize all the data pages within each activity. You can turn things on and off, and you can also broadcast your heart rate to nearby devices. Now, when it comes to each data page within an activity, you can have up to 4 pieces of information at a time. And if I tap on any one of these, I can choose a different bit of information that I'd rather see. And of course, once you complete a workout and sync it over to your phone with the Zepp app, you'll notice all the different information that you can scroll through, including a pace graph, a heart rate graph, zones, real-time performance graph, cadence, stride length, training effect, and more. Unfortunately though, the Bip 6 does not support more advanced metrics like ground contact time or running power, since it doesn't have that built-in altimeter, but that's not really a showstopper if you're a casual athlete. And when it comes to activities, another nice feature of this watch is that it does support external sensors. So if I dive into the settings, I can go out to workout accessory. Here you can see it just picked up my Whoop band as a heart rate sensor, but if you have an ECG chest sensor or another kind of heart rate sensor, you can pair that here as well. Another unique feature that I've never seen before on a watch like this is called Night Safety Light. What this is used for is if you're running outside in the dark, you can actually use the screen of the watch as another way for oncoming vehicles or traffic to see you in dark conditions. And you can preview it. If I tap on preview, that's what it'll look like in the dark when you're running outside, so oncoming vehicles see you a little bit easier. Next up, let's talk navigation and mapping on the Amazfit Bip 6, because this $79 watch surprisingly supports offline maps and navigation. The way this works is that you can download map tiles from the Zepp app on your phone and sync that over to your watch. When you select a map tile to download for offline use, you do have to select a region or area, and these regions can be up to 200 miles wide. Now keep in mind, because of the limited storage on this watch, you do have to kind of be choosy about what regions you're saving, but I had no problem saving almost the entire state of Massachusetts within one tile. Once you have maps saved to the internal storage of the watch, you can access them in 2 ways. First of all, you can just jump into the map app from the app menu, and as you can see here, I've got the map loaded, and I can scroll around the map by using the on-screen controls here. You'll also notice that not only do you get roads and trails and things like that, you also get map labels, which is actually pretty rare on smartwatches. This means you'll see the actual name of the road. For example, here you can see Catherwood Road there. And I can scroll down further. There's bodies of water. It's showing green space. And then you've got Pond Street here with another map label. Another way to access the maps on the Amazfit Bip 6 is within activities. So if you're out on a hike or a trail run or something like that, you can simply scroll down through your data pages and see a map of where you are and your surroundings. And on top of that, you also can import a GPX file or fit file to use as a route during navigation. And now that we've talked about navigation and mapping, that's a good segue into GPS modes and accuracy. So the Amazfit Bip 6, because it is a budget-friendly device, it does not have a dual frequency system, which is sort of like the gold standard and what you get on more expensive watches like the Garmin I'm wearing here. So as you can see here, I'm showing you an out and back activity. So ideally, the lines should be stacked right on top of each other because I took the same route out as I took back. The Amazfit Bip 6 is the orange line you're seeing here, and the blue line is a Garmin Tactix 8, which is a $1,400 watch with dual frequency GPS. In terms of overall accuracy, it actually isn't bad. There are some areas where the Amazfit Bip 6 did drift a little bit off course, and that did happen in a couple of areas pretty significantly. However, for a $79 watch with a single band GPS, I probably wouldn't complain too much about this, especially if I weren't comparing it side by side with a $1,400 watch. What's more impressive though is that despite the GPS drifting a little bit and the accuracy not being absolutely perfect, the overall distance recorded by the Bip 6 was within 1/100th of a mile as compared to the Garmin Tactix 8 here. Jumping over to the heart rate sensor on the Amazfit Bip 6. Again, the biosensor PPG or whatever they call it on the back of this watch. Now, in terms of heart rate, in previous years, Amazfit had a lot of trouble in this department, but lately it's gotten much better with watches like the Amazfit T-Rex 3 and more recently the Amazfit Active 2. And again here with the Amazfit Bip 6, I'm actually getting really solid results. You can see here on the graph the Amazfit Bip 6 in red and the Garmin HRM Pro ECG sensor in purple. You will notice that at first, when I first started this particular run, the Amazfit Bip 6 did lag behind the ECG sensor and took a while to come up to speed and sort of lock on. But once it did lock on, it was pretty on throughout the entire run with only a few minor deviations within like 4 or 5 beats per minute here or there. These results are quite good and I'm pretty impressed by them, but again, I do need to do more testing on more runs in terms of GPS and heart rate accuracy to really put this thing through its paces, and I'll come back with another review down the road. And that brings us to the end of this video where I want to talk final thoughts and conclusions with my quick time with this watch and my initial impressions so far. I gotta say, you are getting a lot for your money here at just $79. It's a nice looking watch with a great display, tons of health and wellness features, offline maps, a speaker and microphone, a really cool AI virtual assistant. The snappy user interface is quite nice. And on top of that, the GPS and heart rate performance so far in my testing is not terrible. It's pretty decent, especially when you're considering the price. The only real sacrifices you're making here with the Amazfit Bip 6 come down to a couple of things. First of all, the limited internal storage for music and maps. It's only a couple hundred megabytes and you really can't store a lot in there. I wish they added like a gigabyte. And the other thing missing from this watch is a hardware barometric altimeter, which would be nice for hikers and trail runners, but it's really not the end of the day and something you can overlook at this price point. But for $79, I honestly can't think of another watch in this category with this amount of usable features. It's kind of wild, and Amazfit has been really pushing the envelope lately, trying to improve their app and their ecosystem and their devices, and this is just one more example of that. Ultimately though, even though this is my initial review, I'd say if you're in the market for a budget-friendly smartwatch for everyday health and wellness, or even as a dedicated running smartwatch, the Amazfit Bip 6 is worth checking out, and the price is very low risk. Like at $79, if you buy it and hate it or only use it occasionally, you're not out hundreds of dollars, you're out 79 bucks. But like I said many times in this video, this is just my initial review and I'll have follow-up content coming down the road about the Bip 6 when I spend more time with it and do more testing. So make sure you go down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that upcoming video. And while you're down there, hit the like button too. I'd appreciate that. And now's the point of the video where I want to hear from you. Do you have an Amazfit Bip 6? Have you used a Amazfit product in the past? What do you think about their products? Let me know down there. If you have one of these things, I'd love to hear your experience and how accurate it feels and how the readiness score works and things like that. Comment down below. And after you're done commenting down there, also make sure to drop down into the description of this video where you will find links to all of the watches I showed here, including the Amazfit Bip 6. Those are affiliate links and they do help support this channel, but they cost nothing extra to use, so you might as well use them. And after you're done shopping down there, also check out the links to my other social media accounts, including my Strava, my Instagram, my Threads account, my website, and of course my podcast, Distance Junkie, which I try to do on a semi-weekly basis where I talk all about these things. Go subscribe. And with that, I think we're done here. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
I get ready, feeling too trippy, get it cracking like 11. I'ma show 'em all how to party if the